1739, Maria Joseph von Bayern, a Duchess of Bavaria, found herself facing a horror she never imagined. For 4 days, she was impaled on the infamous Judas Cradle, a pyramid of steel designed to prolong suffering without granting death too quickly. And yet, she wasn't a criminal. Her crime was a set of forged love letters that would ignite a scandal and a war, claiming thousands of lives. Hit that subscribe button now, because what you're about to see isn't in your history textbooks, and the revelation at the 8-minute mark will change how you view justice forever. Picture 1739 Bavaria, a gilded palace, the city of Munich, and beneath it, a shadowy torture chamber. The Judas Cradle stands ready, a 2-foot metal pyramid, designed with brutal precision. Victims were suspended above it, slowly lowered until its tip pierced their body. Too much weight meant swift death. Too little agony extended for days. This was not a divisive execution, but a machine of control. Confess, and it would stop, though most never survived to see mercy. By the 1740s, the Enlightenment was beginning to question judicial torture. Nations debated its morality. Bavaria clung stubbornly to tradition, unaware that the last victim would be a woman whose life and innocence would shock the empire. Her name was Maria Joseph von Bayern, a 34-year-old mother of 3, married at 16 to Duke Ferdinand of Bavaria. In June 1739, she was accused of adultery, a charge that, for a noblewoman, equated to treason. The court claimed she had a 3-year affair with her husband's most trusted general, Claus von Sternberg, supported by dozens of love letters supposedly in her hand. Maria examined the letters in court. They looked like hers. The seals matched. But she swore on her children's lives. The content was a fabrication. They contained plans, secret meetings, declarations of passion, none of which she had written. Yet the court ignored her protest. On June 23, 1739, she was taken to the torture chamber beneath her palace to face the Judas Cradle. But why would Bavaria put a duchess on this device? The answer lay in those forged letters, and the man behind them, Count Heinrich von Lohenstein, the Duke's Chancellor. Von Lohenstein was exposed by von Sternberg, who had uncovered massive embezzlement. Threatened, Lohenstein forged letters to frame Maria and her general, destroying evidence and eliminating threats to his power. Forensic analysis centuries later would confirm her innocence. Ink, unavailable to civilians. Microscopic irregularities in the handwriting, and a careful replication of her style, all pointing to Lohenstein. But in 1739, she was left to endure one of history's cruelest tortures. Accused of crimes she didn't commit, Maria Joseph von Bayern had provided the court with everything: names, dates, records, but the claims were dismissed. Why? Count Heinrich von Lohenstein, the very man who forged the letters, presided as judge over her case. He controlled every detail: witnesses, admissible evidence, the verdict. When Maria refused to confess, Lohenstein personally ordered her to the Judas Cradle. On the same day, General von Sternberg, the supposed lover, was arrested and executed by hanging 3 days later, never even given a trial. The evidence of embezzlement he had uncovered vanished in a mysterious fire. Lohenstein eliminated all threats to his power, yet Maria remained alive, steadfast in her innocence. On June 23, 1739, Maria was placed onto the pyramid. The executioner asked, "Will you confess to adultery with General von Sternberg?" Her answer, "No." Slowly, agonizingly, she was lowered onto the sharp metal point. 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches. Blinding pain surged through her body. Every breath shifted her weight. Every spasm drove the point deeper. "Will you confess?" they asked. She refused. For 6 hours. 6 hours of unimaginable torment. Then, the unthinkable happened. She confessed, not to the crime, but to save her children. A secret letter discovered in 1941 revealed her reasoning. In June 1739, Maria wrote to her 12-year-old daughter Elizabeth. Knowing she would not survive, she explained, "I will confess, not because I am guilty, but because if I do not, you and your brothers will lose everything. Your inheritance, your titles, your future. The choice is mine: confess and protect you, or remain innocent and doom you." In that era, illegitimacy destroyed everything. Children born outside the law could inherit nothing, hold no office, marry no nobility, social outcasts forever. Maria chose her children. She confessed, but Lohenstein's cruelty did not end there. The confession did not spare her. It extended her suffering. Torture continued for 4 more days. She remained impaled on the Judas Cradle for 96 hours, conscious, unable to sleep or eat. Executioners received strict instructions: keep her alive, administer minimal water, provide stimulants to maintain consciousness, prevent shock-induced death. Executioner Georg Messer wrote in his diary, "I have performed 47 executions. I have never been ordered to prolong suffering like this. The Duchess is innocent. Everyone knows, but I have my orders." On June 27th, the fourth day, Maria no longer screamed or spoke. She stared at the ceiling, perhaps seeing her children one last time. At 3:47 p.m., the record reads, "It is done. Duchess Maria Joseph von Bayern has died. I have recorded her as the 312th person to die on the Judas Cradle in Bavaria. I pray to God she is the last." Her death spread through Munich within hours. Not just news of an execution, but the horrifying details of a 4-day ordeal, a duchess tortured to save her children. On June 28th, riots erupted in the central square. Citizens demanded answers. Why was one of their noblest, most innocent citizens subjected to this? Why wasn't Maria granted the noble mercy of a beheading? Why? 4 days of unimaginable torment. Duke Ferdinand, her husband, was forced to address the public. He didn't defend her execution, he questioned it. Ferdinand had been away during her arrest and trial. When he returned 2 days after her death, he read the letters, reviewed the records, and heard witness testimony. The timeline was suspiciously fast. The trial too rushed, the punishment far too severe. He ordered an immediate investigation. Within a week, the missing embezzlement evidence that von Sternberg had compiled was discovered in Vienna military archives. The records were damning. Count Heinrich von Lohenstein had embezzled over 200,000 florins, roughly $30 million today. Ferdinand examined the love letters. They couldn't prove forgery with 1739 technology, but they revealed something crucial. The letters referenced events that never happened, military campaigns that didn't occur, family gatherings never held. Whoever wrote them clearly didn't know Maria or von Sternberg. On July 15, 1739, just 18 days after Maria's death, Count Heinrich von Lohenstein was arrested for fraud, embezzlement, and judicial murder. But justice was partial. Powerful allies and secrets about other nobles allowed him to escape trial, execution, or conviction. He was quietly exiled to Austria, fortune intact. Officially, he retired from public service due to health concerns. Maria had died in agony for 4 days. Von Lohenstein retired comfortably. The injustice sparked something unprecedented. Public outrage ignited legal reform. Enlightenment thinkers across Europe seized on Maria's case. Voltaire wrote about it. Cesia Becker referenced it in her work on crimes and punishments. Reformers argued, if torture can be so unjustly applied to a duchess, how much worse could it be for common people? On March 12, 1749, 10 years after Maria's death, Bavaria became the first German state to abolish judicial torture. The decree referenced recent events that brought shame upon Bavarian justice, without naming Maria. But everyone knew who it meant. Other states followed in rapid succession. Prussia 1754, Austria 1776, France 1788. Maria's death catalyzed the end of a 400-year practice across Western Europe. Tragically, the reforms came too late for Maria. Archives reveal that Ferdinand had been drafting a decree to halt her execution and grant a retrial, completed at 9:30 a.m. on June 27, 1739. The decree was dispatched immediately, but Maria had already died at 3:47 p.m. that day. A messenger arrived at 9:52 p.m., 6 hours too late. Executioner Metz recorded, "When I told him the Duchess had died 6 hours earlier, he fell to his knees and wept. He rode as fast as he could. It wasn't fast enough." Maria's daughter, Elizabeth, survived. 30 years later, as Princess Elizabeth of Saxony, she used her political power to ensure her mother's story would be remembered. She funded the publication of the case, commissioned historians, and successfully lobbied for reforms requiring multiple judges in capital cases, preventing a single corrupt official from controlling a trial again today. The Judas Cradle still sits in the Medieval Crime Museum in Munich. Look closely at its base. The initials MJB Maria Joseph von Bayern carved into the metal. Who did it? Historians debate. Some say Executioner Metz made it as a memorial. Others argue a curator added it later. Regardless, it stands as a permanent reminder. the last person to die on the Judas Cradle, a mother who confessed to save her children, a woman whose suffering ended centuries of legalized torture. Maria's case is studied in law schools worldwide. Her story teaches about coerced confessions, judicial corruption, and the dangers of allowing punishment to override truth. Every time you hear about the right to a fair trial or protection against cruel punishment, think of her. She had no presumption of innocence. She was guilty from accusation alone. These rights exist because Maria died without them. Her hidden letter to Elizabeth, kept secret for 200 years, is now displayed in the Bavarian state archives. Thousands read it yearly. Many cry. It is not just history. It is a mother's final words, a testament to the lengths we go to protect those we love. Here's my question for you. If you could change one historical law that caused innocent people to die, which would it be? Drop your answer in the comments. Maria confessed to a crime she never committed, all to secure her children's future. She chose their well-being over her innocence, their reputation over the truth. What would you do in her place? Would you confess, knowing it would cost your life, to protect your family? Be honest, this isn't hypothetical. This was the real choice Maria faced. If this story moved you, don't miss next week's video. We'll explore another torture device, one used on children, whose records make even Maria's ordeal look merciful. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this with anyone who thinks they know history. Stories like Maria's don't just belong in textbooks, they belong in our collective memory. They remind us why justice matters, why truth matters, and why legal protections can never be taken for granted. Maria Joseph von Bayern died on June 27, 1739, innocent, tortured for 4 days, and the last person to die on the Judas Cradle. May her sacrifice never be forgotten.